This boy claimed to be Elvis Presley in a past life, and it's one of the most chilling reincarnation cases in history. The air in Tupelo, Mississippi, on a sweltering August afternoon in 2012, hung thick with humidity and the distant hum of cicadas. Sarah and David Miller's modest, well-kept home on Audubon Drive, just a stone's throw from the birthplace of the king, smelled of freshly baked apple pie and lemon furniture polish. Their 5-year-old son, Jesse, was a bright, energetic boy with a shock of dark brown hair that perpetually fell into his startlingly blue eyes. He loved trucks, drawing, and endlessly pestering his older sister, Clara, who at 12 found him a constant source of both amusement and exasperation. Their lives were ordinary, comfortable, filled with the usual rhythms of school, church, and Sunday barbecues. Jesse's days were a blur of finger paints and playground adventures, his nights filled with dreams of cartoon heroes. He was, to all appearances, a perfectly normal, happy child, a product of his time and place, deeply rooted in the unassuming charm of small-town America. The scent of magnolias often drifted through their open windows, mingling with the faint, ever-present echo of gospel music from a nearby church, a sound as integral to Tupelo as the very earth beneath it. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly, just after Jesse's 5th birthday. He began humming tunes that Sarah didn't recognize, melodies with a distinctive rhythm and blues inflection, a swagger that seemed far too mature for a child who primarily listened to pop radio and nursery rhymes. One afternoon, while watching a documentary about the 1950s, a snippet of an Elvis song played. Jesse, who had been engrossed in his Legos, suddenly looked up, a strange intensity in his blue eyes. "That's my song," he mumbled almost to himself, then went back to his building. Sarah dismissed it as a child's fanciful declaration, the kind of imaginative play that often characterized his age. But then came the clothes. Jesse, who usually preferred comfortable t-shirts and jeans, started showing a distinct preference for more flamboyant attire. He'd insist on wearing his older sister's sparkly scarf or try to slick back his hair with water, attempting a pompadour that always collapsed into childish disarray. He'd stand in front of the mirror, striking poses, mimicking gestures Sarah couldn't place, movements that felt almost choreographed, yet were entirely spontaneous. There was a particular way he'd move his hips, a subtle shift of weight, a tilt of the head, that made Sarah feel a prickle of unease. It was like watching a ghost inhabit her son's body for fleeting moments. David, ever the pragmatist, chalked it up to Jesse picking things up from TV or school, but Sarah felt a growing sense of disquiet, a feeling that something far more profound was at play. The first truly chilling incident occurred one evening during dinner. The family was discussing Sarah's upcoming visit to Graceland, a pilgrimage she had always wanted to make. Jesse, usually quiet during adult conversations, suddenly pushed his plate away, his small face scrunched in a frown. "Graceland is home," he stated, his voice surprisingly firm for a 5-year-old. "But they moved my jukebox, and the gate is all wrong." Sarah and David exchanged puzzled glances. "Jesse, honey, you've never been to Graceland," Sarah said gently. He looked at her, his blue eyes wide and earnest. "Yes, I have. I lived there. Before." The word "before" hung in the air, thick with unspoken implications. David chuckled nervously, trying to lighten the mood. "And who did you live there as, buddy? A king?" Jesse nodded, utterly serious. "Yes, the king, Elvis. They called me Elvis." A cold dread began to seep into Sarah's bones. She tried to laugh it off, but the sound felt hollow. David, however, was more direct. "Jesse, where did you hear that name? Elvis?" Jesse shrugged, picking at his peas. "I just know. I know the house, the jungle room, the pool, my motorcycles." He then rattled off a stream of details about Graceland that a 5-year-old from Tupelo, who had never visited the mansion, simply could not know. He described the specific placement of certain furniture pieces, the color of the shag carpet in the jungle room, and even mentioned the precise location of a particular tree in the grounds, details that would later be verified through historical records and tour guides. He spoke of his mother, Gladys, with a heartbreaking tenderness, recounting mundane everyday events as if they had happened just yesterday. He complained about the constant tours, the endless stream of people at the gates. He even mentioned specific individuals from Elvis's inner circle, recalling nicknames and personal anecdotes that left his parents utterly speechless. He spoke of the precise weight of his gold records, the feel of his customized jumpsuits, and the specific sound of his guitar, a Gibson J200. He described the smell of peanut butter and banana sandwiches being made in the kitchen, and the particular way the light streamed into his bedroom window in the morning. If this shocks you so far, subscribe and tell us in the comments what you think about reincarnation. News of Jesse's claims quickly spread beyond the Miller household, initially whispered among close friends and family, then exploding into a local sensation. The Tupelo News ran a front-page story, and soon, calls started pouring in from national media outlets. The family, overwhelmed, decided to seek professional help. A local priest, Father Michael O'Connell, a man known for his calm demeanor and open mind, was the first outsider to meet Jesse. He approached the boy with gentle curiosity, asking questions about his past life. Jesse, surprisingly articulate for his age, answered with a clarity that belied his years. He described growing up in poverty, his early musical influences, the thrill of his first recording session at Sun Records, and the explosive fame that followed. He spoke of the loneliness despite the adoration, the pressures of performance, and the constant struggle with his health. He even sang snippets of songs, not just Elvis's hits but lesser-known B-sides and gospel tunes that had been significant to the real Elvis's life, songs that were rarely played on mainstream radio. His voice, though childish, carried an uncanny resonance, a melancholic echo of the original. Next came Dr. Eleanor Vance, a parapsychologist from the University of Virginia, renowned for her work in childhood reincarnation cases. Dr. Vance, a skeptical but open-minded scientist, subjected Jesse to a series of rigorous double-blind tests. She showed him photographs of various people from the 1950s and 60s, including Elvis, his family, and his band members. Jesse identified them all with absolute certainty, often providing personal details about their relationships and specific events they shared. He correctly identified his ex-wife Priscilla, his daughter Lisa Marie, and even members of the Memphis Mafia. When shown a picture of Elvis's childhood home in Tupelo, he pointed out a specific crack in the foundation that had long since been repaired but was visible in historical photographs. He identified vehicles Elvis owned, rare memorabilia, and even correctly described the interior of a private jet, the Lisa Marie, which he had no plausible way of knowing. He recounted specific tour dates, the names of venues, and even the weather conditions during particular concerts. He described the feeling of being on stage, the roar of the crowd, the sweat, and the exhilaration. He even detailed the taste of specific foods he enjoyed, such as fried pickles and collard greens, explaining how his mother, Gladys, used to prepare them. Dr. Vance, initially expecting to debunk the claims, found herself increasingly bewildered. Jesse consistently provided details that were historically accurate, verifiable, and far beyond the scope of a child his age, especially one living in 21st century Tupelo. A historian specializing in Elvis Presley, Dr. Richard Sterling, was also brought in. He grilled Jesse on obscure facts about Elvis's career, his military service, his movie roles, and his personal life. Jesse not only answered correctly, but often added nuanced observations and personal feelings about the events, offering insights that only the man himself could have possessed. He spoke of the internal conflict between his artistic desires and the demands of Hollywood, the bittersweet feeling of leaving his mark on the world, and the constant longing for a simpler life. Dr. Sterling, a man who had dedicated his life to Elvis scholarship, was flawed. He had come prepared to expose a hoax, but instead he found himself facing an enigma. The climax arrived during a televised interview with Jesse at Graceland itself, a moment that sent shockwaves across the globe. The family, Dr. Vance, and a crew of journalists stood in the sprawling, iconic grounds. Jesse, looking small amidst the grandeur, wandered through the rooms with an unnerving familiarity. He stopped in the living room, pointing to an empty spot on the wall. "They moved my guitar," he said, his voice tinged with a child's frustration, yet resonating with an echo of a much older man's memory. "The one with the pearl inlay. It used to hang right here. A quick check with the Graceland archives confirmed that a rare, custom-made Gibson J200 with pearl inlays, a gift from Colonel Tom Parker, had indeed hung in that precise spot for many years before being moved to a secure display case during a renovation in the late 1990s, well before Jessie was born. No public record or current tour guide mentioned its previous location. The atmosphere in the room shifted, a palpable tension as skepticism gave way to a growing sense of awe. But the most breathtaking moment came when Jessie, guided by an inexplicable instinct, led them to the infamous jungle room. He walked directly to a small built-in shelf, almost hidden behind a potted plant. He knelt, his small fingers tracing a faint scratch on the wooden paneling. "There was a secret here," he whispered, his voice hushed, eyes wide with the memory. "A box. My mom hid something there for me." Sarah and David, along with the assembled experts, watched in stunned silence as a Graceland official, prompted by Dr. Vance, carefully removed the panel. Tucked away in the dusty recess behind it was a small, tarnished silver locket engraved with the initials EP. The locket contained a faded miniature photograph of Gladys Presley, Elvis's mother, a picture that had never been publicly circulated. The official confirmed that the locket had been missing for decades, a small personal item that had been considered lost forever. The revelation sent a ripple of gasps through the room. It was an undeniable physical link, a piece of impossible knowledge brought forth by a 5-year-old boy. The cameras zoomed in, capturing the wonder and disbelief on everyone's faces. The world watched, captivated, as a child seemed to unlock a forgotten piece of history. The aftermath was nothing short of a global phenomenon. Jesse Miller, the boy who claimed to be Elvis Presley, became a household name. The story was featured on every major news network, debated in scientific journals, and discussed in pulpits around the world. Scientists grappled with the implications, suggesting everything from shared ancestral memory to quantum entanglement. Religious leaders found themselves confronting profound questions about the soul and the afterlife. Historians meticulously re-examined Elvis's life, finding new perspectives in Jesse's seemingly anachronistic memories. The Miller family, once ordinary, found their lives irrevocably transformed. They moved to a more secluded location to protect Jesse from the relentless media circus. But the boy's story continued to resonate. He still occasionally hummed old tunes and spoke with a wistful longing for his other life. But as he grew older, the memories began to fade, becoming less distinct, more like distant dreams. The scientific community remains divided, some embracing the case as compelling evidence of reincarnation, others searching for conventional explanations, however improbable. The silver locket, now a protected artifact, serves as a tangible, irrefutable piece of evidence, a silent testament to a mystery that continues to challenge our understanding of life, death, and the enduring power of memory. The case of Jesse Miller remains one of the most compelling and baffling examples of childhood past life recall, leaving the world with more questions than answers. What do you think? Could this child truly be the reincarnation of Elvis Presley? Comment below and subscribe for more chilling cases.